What's going on, everybody? Corneal abrasion noob here, back at it once again. I'm wearing my glasses because I just went to the doctor and it turns out that I do have a corneal abrasion or an ulceration, something like that. My eyeballs are screwed. Anyways, title of today's video is we did not complete our Royal Enfield race build. This really pains me to say, to be honest. I really wanted to have the time to get this thing all spruced up and really get it to be that race spec Royal Enfield, get it back on track and defeat Josh. But time got away from us a little bit, and the other thing that happened too was the parts availability for these race builds. I thought that S&S and a lot of the other guys just had these parts on the shelf, much like a Harley Sportster would have a 1275 kit from Hammer Performance, but all those parts from the Build Train Race program are actually super bespoke. They make them for those bikes, and so we just didn't have the bandwidth to actually make this motorcycle into the bike that we envisioned it to be, because guess what? Today's actually the last day to get entered to win this thing. We've actually run out of time with the Royal Enfield. So today's the last day to get entered. Go to shop.yamanoob.co. Every dollar you spend is an entry to win, or you can sign up on yamanoob.co, become a member, and get access to all of our amazing features and the entries to win these bikes as well. So we kind of ran out of the time with this bike, but honestly, I think we're kind of better for it, and I'll explain it a little bit. So guys, I do think that not turning this bike into an out-and-out race bike is actually a good idea, as much as I wanted to do it because I'm that go-fast boy. But we have to remember that this bike is going to go to someone who ostensibly is going to get it as their beginner bike. This is a beginner bike giveaway, and most of the people signed up for that sweepstakes are trying to get their first motorcycle. And to get a fully kitted out, built Royal Enfield that's all track spec as your first bike doesn't really make a lot of sense. And honestly, this motorcycle is so lovable in its stock configuration. With this air-cooled 649cc parallel twin, the upright bars, a beautiful chrome gas tank. This is a great motorcycle that you can learn with and just grow with and really enjoy. And so I don't really think it makes a ton of sense to turn it into that. Also, would have had to change the geometry on this thing a little bit, modify the wheels and tires, get the 17s on it, stickier rubber. All of that stuff makes me really excited, and it sounds really cool. And I really think that we could have shaved off some serious time at the track with it, probably upwards of 10 or 12 seconds. I really think that I could have dipped under 2 minutes and 20 with this at Eagles Canyon Raceway, but I just don't think it was the right move. It is funny though, I see it right here now. We actually did scrape up this this brake lever over here and some of the other stuff on track. So this thing has been through quite an adventure. It was super fun to get it on track. And I do think that you guys out there, if you have a motorcycle like this, you should still go and do stuff with it. Go take it to track day, go scramble it, go ride it off-road. There's actually a video I saw the other day where these guys took like a 2005 R6 and just yeeted it off-road and probably blew all the fork seals. But just do stuff with your motorcycle. That's the spirit of this bike, and I want it to go to someone who is gonna then do stuff with this bike. I don't want it to be a situation where I've already done all the things to it and turned it into a very specialized tool. This bike is a great platform, as we mentioned in our Sportster versus Royal Enfield video. It's a great platform to do with what you want to do. And so this bike surprised me over the time that we've had it. You know, this is the final day you can get entered to win it, and during these times I kind of sit there and I start pondering to myself and contemplating on what these bikes, you know, were like during the time we had them. And really the Royal Enfield grew on me a lot, especially after we put these slip-on pipes on it. You get this really nice burbly sound out of it. It's a bike that I genuinely look forward to riding when I get the chance, which, speaking of, I'd say it's time for me to go out, take this thing for a final ride, and give you guys my final thoughts. Quick side note, guys, today's video is proudly supported by Flying Eyes. They're our preferred eyewear here at Yamanoob, and that is for a lot of reasons, but the main one is being that these things are made out of Resilamide. They are super bendy, but also basically unbreakable, which is really nice. These were originally designed with pilots in mind with their big headsets, so they fit really nice between a motorcycle helmet. For the type of rider that wears a clear visor, but also wants some sun protection while you're out riding around, they're a great option. Hit the link down below to shop.yamanoob.co and shop for all of our preferred Flying Eyes that we have on there. They're our preferred eyeglasses for many reasons, and we do love them. Remember, every dollar you spend on a store is an entry to win our giveaway bike. So hit the link down below to shop.yamanoob.co and check out Flying Eye sunglasses. Alrighty, folks, just did the very typical Austin thing here. Got myself some food at this food truck. Now we're going to finish up this review of the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Kind of our final review. As mentioned, this is the last day to get entered to win this bad boy. And I just want to wrap up my thoughts on it, you know. What was it like owning it for
303 miles. Had it for about 4 months or so. We're actually keeping our giveaway bikes a little bit longer now, about 6 months. Give us that little bit of extra time with them. Allow us to do some more mods, enjoy the bike a little bit longer, that sort of thing. Alright, so bombing around on the little Enfield here. Just having a nice time with this bike, man. This is what it's designed to do. Just kind of poodling around town, enjoying it, soaking up the vibe, soaking up the sun, that sort of thing. Having a good time. You know, this bike really grew on me, man. Obviously, before I owned it, I was kind of very lukewarm on Royal Enfields. I was like, dude, I mean, I get it, they're cheap, but what are you really getting, you know? But I understand it now. They have a lot of charm and character about them. And to be honest, this is more enjoyable to ride than a Harley Davidson. I know you guys don't like it when I say that, but it's true. The seating position's better, it's a whole lot cheaper, and you basically get the same amount of performance too. And you get a nice sound out of it too. This little parallel twin, it's a really, really nice place to sit. And it gets a lot of looks. You can say what you will about Royal Enfields, but my God, they do turn a lot of heads. They are just this classic, great-looking little motorcycle that a lot of people just imagine like, oh yeah, that's what a motorcycle should look like. It should be kind of like, you know, metallic and chromed out, and, you know, it should have a single round headlight and some sweeping analog gauges. I mean, this is what you look for in that classic bike, and they just have nailed the mark so much. And honestly, I'm really impressed with the stuff that Royal Enfield's been doing. You know, between the Scram 411s and the Meteor 350s, like, those aren't bikes that are obvious. They're not marketed to me, right? Like, I'm an experienced motorcyclist that has very, very niche ideas of what it should be. I like riding enduro. I like going on track. I like riding motocross. I'm not that keen on buying a beginner bike for myself. It doesn't make sense, but I love that they're making all their C-suite people ride these bikes, and there's a lot of passion in Royal Enfield, and I can really feel that coming through, you know? I can really see that in their marketing materials and what they're trying to do. And say what you will, but they're freaking crushing it, dude. They're selling so many of these bikes because they figured out that people don't really want to buy $10,000 or $12,000 or $15,000 motorcycles. They just want something simple, fun, reliable, and cheap. And the Enfields have definitely done that. These bikes are all three of those things. They're fun, they're reliable, and they're cheap. Do they perform amazing? No. Do they have to? Also no. You know, this thing doesn't need to be a fire-breathing sport bike, and it doesn't need to be some insane naked bike either. It just has to do the kind of bare minimum of a motorcycle. I'm not requiring much of it, you know. I'm not asking much of this bike, and yet it is delivering, and it's giving me a good time. And we've done a couple things to it, you know, improvements that I think every Royal Enfield 650 owner should do. Key among them is this master cylinder. We installed the Magura master cylinder on here, dramatically improved the feel at the lever and the braking performance on this machine. Really, really enjoyed it. And the other thing too are these sets of pipes, you know. It was such a simple install, literally, I think 2 or 3 bolts, slide them off, slide the new ones on, and you get a great sound out of it. It's so rewarding to do those kind of modifications to motorcycles where you don't spend much time, you don't spend much money, and you get a great outsized return for it. And it's something that you get to enjoy every time you turn on your motorcycle, right? You turn it on, give it a couple revs, it gets that nice bassy sound. It's cool, you know? And I still stand by my opinion that if you want a kind of proper big bike as your first bike, this gives you the feeling and the sound of that without you having to go get an MT-07 or something. Despite an MT-07 only having a little bit more displacement, it's a much faster, much hairier motorcycle for beginners to ride than this Royal Enfield. This bike is very, very approachable. I don't think anyone would really jump on this 650 and be like, whoa, I'm scared, like this is crazy. It's a super manageable, approachable amount of power. You just roll on in 3rd gear, and you get a what I feel like is a very normal sense of acceleration. Granted, my sense of acceleration is a little warped, being a track rat and a Turbo Hayabusa owner, but I do feel like this is a gentle, easygoing motorcycle that you can learn how to ride with, and that's why we chose it for the beginner bike giveaway. This is a bike that, you know, I think almost anybody could learn how to ride on. Maybe you would want something a little bit lighter if you're a smaller rider. Maybe you want something in that 350-ish pound range, like a Ninja 400 or something like that. But I do still think that the Royal Enfield offers a lot. Got a roundabout in Texas, folks. Can you believe it? It is a bummer that we didn't get to do the kind of full-blown race build that I wanted to do with it. We just ran out of time, unfortunately, guys. And I do still think that if we had done all that, if we got an Olin suspension and, you know, built out the engine, did all this crazy stuff, like, yes, it would have been super cool, but ultimately kind of a waste of money and time. Because I don't really think we would have seen that many views on it, and I don't really think we would have gotten that much more entries for it. In fact, I think we would have probably deterred people from entering to win it, because they'd be like, well, I don't really want that super spec'd out Royal Enfield that they're giving away. Whereas this, again, is just much more of a palatable option for anybody. You know, anybody could I mean, this bike would work for almost anybody. If this would work as a kind of daily commuter for somebody who's got maybe a more crazy fun bike in the stable. This would also work for somebody as a first bike. This would also work for a returning rider as well. And I like that. I've mentioned to you guys that I like really flexible motorcycles, and I feel like the Interceptor 650 is a very flexible little bike. Very similar to the Sportster in that if you don't like something on it, you can change it. It can be suited for all kinds of different people, and that is super cool. And in recent years, I've heard nothing but good things about Royal Enfield's build quality and reliability. I think the old adage, built like a gun, still stands up, you know? This is a bike that I think would really stand the test of time. It's very simple in its construction, and I can't imagine it would get too complicated for somebody or have any reliability problems or anything like that. It just feels like it's bone dead simple. I think the only simpler thing you could get that's more reliable maybe be like a Honda XR650 or something, old air-cooled Japanese dual sport. Those are literally indestructible. Your old KLRs and your DR650s, those sort of things. But again, not as approachable as the Enfield. A little bit more of a hurdle. They're bigger, they're taller, you know. I think this bike really hits such a sweet spot, man. And it feels cool. I feel cool sitting on it. I love the gas tank here with the gold pinstripe. It's a cool bike, man. How could you not like this bike? Is it my favorite bike that I've ever ridden? Do I think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread? Absolutely not. And I do want you guys to know that. Just because the Enfield grew on me a little bit does not mean that it's now my favorite thing ever. A lot of people get in this zero-sum thinking with this sort of thing, where it's like, it's either 1 or 0, baby. Like, you know, you either love something or you hate it. It's like, no, guys, I like the Enfield. It's a good little bike. It's not as bad as I thought. It's also not as great as I thought. I think I said that in my very first ride and review of it. I was like, it's better than I thought, but also not the greatest thing in the world. 70% of a Triumph Bonneville at about 50% of the price. You're getting 20% of instant value right there. That's good economics, folks. That is good for me. So, guys, I think that's going to wrap up the day here. Kind of finalizing my thoughts on the Enfield for our final giveaway here. I am sad to report that we were not able to finish the race build. It does make me sad. I did want to take this thing back on track and see if I could beat my lap time and beat Josh's SV650, but ultimately it's just not in the stars. It's not going to pan out, not in the cards, so to speak. And we are going to be giving this thing away as a normal Royal Enfield. So if you haven't yet, head over to the store, get yourself a hat, a t-shirt, whatever you want. Every dollar you spend is an entry to win. Otherwise, you can also head over to yamanoob.co, sign up and become a member. Earn your entries for this bike, our Ducati Street Fighter V4 S, and I guess we're just doing those two. I forgot that we're waiting on the new Intermediate, and then we're going to wait to replace this too. So, oh, and the Sportster. How could I forget? How could I forget? The lovable Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200. That's the other one we're giving away. Giving away so many bikes that I've forgotten the ones we're giving away. But I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching.